This video is a submission for the Blackborder video competition, ending May 31st.
So, it turns out we came here and there's a bunch of turbo fog.
A vinyl sticker with big block letters adhere to my chest tells your new friends I am a visitor here, I am not permanent.
I'm not playing control. I'm not going to play anything that's relevant to me having to think. I just want to turn my dude sideways and just win games. A lot of the metagames, black white tokens. Like, I can look around for the table and see like 1, 2. I can see black white tokens all over. And I basically chose a deck that's just going to be black white tokens. Chaotic Backlash is a ridiculous card. And being that I'm playing Demigod of Revenge in my main deck so that I can win, like, I just swap them out. It's like Demigod's only 5 damage, Chaotic Backlash is 19 damage in 1 turn.
I was the one worth leaving.
I'm playing Jun Manoramp because, well, it's fun.
With like Bloodbraid Elves and the Hack Blades, was kind of just play, attack, go.
A mishmash of 5-color control. I felt that if I played the Turbo Fog deck, I would either end up 0-0-3 drop or just lose every game.
A version of Patrick Chapin's 5-color control, I guess, but it's Cascade control, I guess, with a bit of stuff splashed in.
I played Green Black Elves because I didn't really have much time to test, so I picked up something I knew. I was going to play the 5-color Blood deck because everyone tells me it's a monster.
I had a somewhat comfortable feeling for 5-color control, but then I went and kind of read way too many forum articles, so now I have a deck that's got not enough control to be control and not enough aggro to be aggro.
I'm playing Green White Overrun. I think it has a pretty good solid performance against the field. I'm playing Alice Glassmacher's strategy of Windborn Muses in the board for the token matchups, and I think overall against the field it's a solid deck that as an aggro deck it's easy to play through 8 rounds.
Any fog.
Turbo Fog, because I have no outs against Turbo Fog, and my matchup is probably about 10 to 90 in favor of Turbo Fog.
Turbo Fog. Pretty much because it's completely unfun. Probably some green white aggro decks that play Finks. Finks and Wall of Reverence are really, really tough for me. So anything with that game 1, it's almost good game if I see one of them.
Probably fairies. My deck might actually be good against fairies, but I've never really played against a good fairy player, and it's just been scary enough for so long that I'd rather not play it.
I don't want to play against Windbrisk Kites with overruns under them. That's
Turn, overrun, spectral possession tokens.
yeah, that happened twice today. That's why I bought 4 foil Fulminator mages.
What do you want to play against? Like, what do you utterly crush?
Any aggro.
5 CC if they don't see a Wall of Reverence. I mean, I've had a lot of turn 4 wins testing the deck.
Definitely black white tokens. I have my sideboard is basically field wipers.
I want to see if I can beat tokens. I haven't seen any token decks yet.
I want to play against tokens all day long.
Decks with mountains in them. I have Finks, Primal Commands, and just bigger guys than they do.
I'm pretty sure after this performance, because you're not seeing much Turbo Fog around the top table, so that's finally going to die out. And right now, I think it's just going to settle with tokens being the best decks in the format. Nothing can consistently beat them.
Tokens. Most tokens.
I think it's going to be a lot of tokens just for the pure reason that it's just card advantage and aggro.
It looks token heavy, but I mean, I've seen fairies floating around. Lightning has a chance. I think everything has an equal chance.
You don't think the results posting for the Tokyo Regionals was enough?
If you look at that top 8, the Turbo Fog guy had like a 75-25 matchup against everything. It was like 2 black-green elves and 4 black-white tokens. It was just a good metagame choice at the time, but I think there's too many decks. Any aggro deck with red burn and the control decks all beat the deck, so I don't think it's solid enough for people to want to take into a tournament with hopes of winning.
What do you think of the new Turbo Fog deck?
I actually just heard about it today. I don't know what it does. I hope I face it. It stalls me out for a bit. I would not mind that.
5-color Blood might be pretty good.
There's a lot of unexplored space in Reborn. So it was a Finest Hour, just made its big debut, especially once Lorwyn rotates out.
I was the one worth leaving.
Specifically Wrath of God, Infest. Cloud Threshers always help. Celestial Purge for Bitter Blossoms. And Maelstrom Pulse for tokens.
Black White tokens, as I said, I'm playing the Windborn Muse. I think it's a really solid addition, and I think it might be able to steal some games because everyone boards out their spot removals games 2 and 3. Outside of that, I have some Cloud Threshers, which helps against Black White tokens and the occasional Fey deck that comes up.
Boarding Infest, boarding Cloud Thresher, boarding the 4th Maelstrom Pulse.
I had Fallouts in the board. I figured that they could get above the 2 toughness pretty easily, so I actually changed those for Fire Spouts.
It's basically just Fire Spouts, Jun Charms and such.
I'll put in the extra Wrath. I'm actually main decking a Hallowed Burial.
Giratin Forge Tenders for red aggro and anything playing Volcanic Fallout, and Elspeth for control.
Turbo Fog is scary. I might have enough counters to out-counter their fogs.
Mental guy. I'm not very good with the mechanics and everything. Default to thinking ahead, so I guess that qualifies under mental.
I'd say mostly mechanic, because I get most of my playing out of, I get most of my wins out of just putting a deck together that I get comfortable with, getting used to it, and winning through it.
Yeah, a bit of mechanic, I guess. You know, if I get a nuts draw, it's nice also. Like I said, some of those turn 4 wins.
Mental guy-ish. I don't know. I haven't really thought of that much.
Mental, because I get to read about it about probably 20 times as often as I get to play it.
Mental, I guess. I Jedi mind trick people all the time.
You need a little luck. You can't be a good player unless you have a little luck.
States. I'm playing against Kithkin. I'm playing Brock because what else do I ever play? So I boarded my 4 Infests. That's what you board in against Kithkin. And this guy must have been fairly new. So we're in game 2. He goes turn 1, 1-drop. I play a Treetop Village. He plays another 1-drop on his second turn. Hits me. Says go. I play a Bitter Blossom. He untaps. Thinks for a second, says out to no one in particular, Damnation rotated out, right? Or no, he said, do you play Damnation? I said, yeah, I play 4 of them in the board. And someone next to me said, Damnation rotated out. And he went, okay, I don't have to worry about Damnation then, and plays 3 1-drops. He hits me with his 2 guys. I untap, drop a Black Source and Infest, and Damnation is board.
So I didn't end up making top 8. However, Ethan, a friend of mine seen here, did make top 8. He ended up deciding to not go to nationals because of a vacation. So Ethan ended up taking 3 boxes instead of a possible nationals trip and 2 boxes. However, his opponent and him decided to play out the match, and we got to film it. The match begins with a good 3 minutes of shuffling, and Ethan and his opponent Ben wish each other good luck. Ben rolls a 9, but Ethan rolls out a 12 and is off to a roaring start. Ben asks that we do not film his hand, understandably, so I'll be unable to detail the hidden cards of this match for the most part, but what I can tell you is that Ethan's playing a Green White Overrun list, and Ben's rocking a 5-color control one. Both players keep, and Ethan starts by dropping Forest and a Noble Hierarch, and says go. Ben plays a Vivid Creek, and says go. Ethan plays a Wooded Bastion, drops a Quazili Pride Mage, and taps his Hierarch to play another Hierarch. Ben spills on another Creek and says go. Ethan then lays down a Forest, plays a Johnny Goldmane, brings him down to 3 counters, swings for 6 with the Pride Mage, and brings Ben down to 14. Ben untaps and pays 1 for a Pithing Needle to stop a Johnny's abilities, lays down a Vivid Meadow, and says go. Ethan then goes all out, attacking for 7, bringing Ben down to 7 life. He then drops a Kitchen Finks, going to 22, and says go. Ben lays down a Vivid Meadow, stares at the board, and says, okay, let's go to game 2. Ethan mulligans game 2 while Ben keeps. Ben then starts off in game 2 by laying down a Vivid Marsh and passing. Ethan lays down a Forest and a Noble Hierarch and passes. Ben puts down a Reflecting Pool and says go. Ethan plays a Plains, then taps his Hierarch and his lands for his Escort. Ben simply lays down a Vivid Creek and says go. Ethan puts his Escort in the red zone for 4, but it gets terrored. But Ethan just goes into his second main, drops his land for the turn and a Wiltleaf Liege and says go. Ben plays a Reflecting Pool and says go. Ethan then plays a Windburst Kites, putting a Wiltleaf Liege under it, attacks for 5, bringing Ben down to 15, drops down a Dauntless Escort, and says go. Ben simply passes, at which time Ethan takes his turn, drawing a guttural response, attacks with everything, flips over a Wilt Leaf Liege under the Windburst Kites, to which Ben attempts to bounce with a cryptic command, but is met by a guttural response, a smash for exactly 15 damage, and a good game. Ethan Sturm wins 2-0.